Everybody, welcome to Live at 11 with Christopher Freeze. I'm your host, Christopher Freeze. Let me ask you this. If you have children, or if you are related to some children, or even just know children, any child, have you ever wondered how their childhood development is progressing? I mean, have you ever wondered if it's going the way it should be going, or maybe it's being derailed? I want to share with you an article I posted on Facebook, posted also on LinkedIn this morning. The title is Vital Signs: Addressing Childhood Trauma Requires Discussing Racism's Impact. It's written by Sarah Robinson, dated June 14th, 2020, and you can find it in thedailyprogress.com. In the article, she talks about two things: childhood development and childhood trauma. And as a therapist, that's what she worries about. As part of that development, are we worried about what gets in the way of successful development? We know that certain adverse childhood experiences like physical, emotional, sexual abuse, physical, emotional neglect, drugs in the household, domestic violence, mental health in the household, incarceration in the household, all these things really can impede successful development. Is that it's a threat to their safety. I mean, you think about it for a moment. If you knew that someone was going to come home every night and abuse you, would you feel safe at home? If you knew that every day that you were going to go to school and a teacher or a coach or a friend or someone was going to, if not physically abuse you, emotionally abuse you from bullying or some other type of activity, would you feel safe? As an adult, when you go to work and you have a boss who verbally abuses you, a coworker who verbally abuses you, do you feel safe? If that environment at work is one that, man, it just hurts when I get up every morning. I'm just depressed to go. Just how does that feel? Now, think about racism. Something that has been pervasive in our country for years. Something that we are still dealing with after the Enlightenment, after modernization, post-modernization. And then understand that those who face racism are facing a threat to their safety. At the FBI, I got to Mississippi about 3 years or so ago, and I investigated civil rights cases earlier in my career, but I didn't fully appreciate and understand just what we were dealing with. And I mean, when you have to show up to a cross burning in someone's yard, when you have to show up to a building that's spray painted graffiti that's racist in nature, when you investigate suicides that might have been homicides because they were hangings in a tree, it's a threat to safety. It's a threat to our development. It's a threat to our children's development. From a work perspective, because I like to talk about trauma-informed leadership, if you are a leader and you find an employee who's anxious or angry or depressed or fatigued, has what might be classic symptoms of PTSD, we need to be understanding and understand that it's possible that part of those feelings have come from racism. They may have come from abuse at home. They may have come from something happening either presently or, more importantly, perhaps from their childhood that continues to play out in our adulthood. It's not as if somehow when we magically turn 18, all right, I'm done. Anything that ever happened to me in childhood has no bearing or relevance in my adulthood, in my job. That's a crazy thing. That's just crazy. Who we are as children, what happens to us as children, good and bad, plays out in our adult lives. Now, that's the bad news, right? That's our environment. That's what we're living in. That's what we're dealing with. On the positive side, trauma can be healed. And as leaders, I think that's part of what we are called to do. I know we're not therapists. I know we're not social workers. We don't understand all the psychology. I'm not asking us to do that. What I'm asking us to do is to understand that the person that's in front of you, whatever's troubling them, didn't just happen that morning. What they're asking for is some help. They're asking for someone to listen. Yes, it is empathy, but it's more than that. It's an understanding. It's an understanding that who I am is a totality of all my experiences. And that I'm not just acting out. I'm not just a poor employee because of I'm just upset today, but that something has been going on and they're trying to deal with it. Look, that stable, safe, and nurturing environment, I mean, COVID-19 has just upended our stability, right? We no longer have that routine. We go into the office, we're there by a certain time, we get our coffee, we sit at our desk, we check our emails. Now we're at home. Some of us are home with children, dealing with that. Some of us may not have a job or it's on hiatus. Certainly an unstable environment. Racism, as we've discussed, unstable environment. Verbal abuse, unstable environment. When the news is what it is and we hear all these terrible reports and it depresses us and we see that people are being oppressed, do we have it within us to take a stand and say, yeah, things have got to change. I'm willing to be vulnerable enough and step up enough to help be part of that change. I appreciate you being here with me this morning as we've taken a few moments, allowed me to express some of my thoughts. You know, finding one's voice on certain issues doesn't often come overnight. We have thoughts in our heads, but putting sound to it, putting words to it, and expressing how we really feel can sometimes take time. So I encourage you to take a moment, tell a friend, tell someone you trust. How do you feel about an issue? It could be any issue, but just in a respectful, positive way, express how you feel. Put some words to it. See if that doesn't help you actually have some more clarity and certainty about who you are and what you believe. And lend your voice to others who have a hard time or maybe can't and don't have a voice themselves.